Good morning. My name is Mia Levy. I will be presenting on session 3, where we focused on improving evidence generation for integrated diagnostics. And I think the main issues that were identified were the ability to leverage electronic health records in evaluating integrated diagnostics, both in the context of pragmatic studies, studies where data is collected as part of routine care but can be used to evaluate prospectively a integrated diagnostics system of care, as well as prospective clinical trial management, where we saw the ability to leverage electronic health records for an additional minimal data collection needed to evaluate integrated diagnostics as part of diagnostic clinical trials. The ability to go just slightly beyond the standard of care documentation, but embed those additional intentional data collection activities into the provider's workflows is a great opportunity for us to imagine how electronic health records can further be used to push the field of integrated diagnostics evaluation. We saw some wonderful examples of AI-driven diagnostics and the requirement for a significant investment in evidence generation to support the analytic validity, the clinical validity, and the clinical utility, ultimately resulting in an FDA-approved product. This was in an example outside of oncology and retinal scanning. But to see that life cycle of what it really takes to get these new types of diagnostics integrated and evaluated and ultimately launched is quite exciting, but also sobering at the same time, to understand what it's really going to take, an investment, and whether or not we are best positioned in the partnerships that we currently have to enable those evaluations to occur in an effective way and move this community forward. I just want to end this particular slide on a really uplifting note to recognize that we saw a great example in AACR Project Genie, as well as others, on the reality that the culture of data sharing for discovery really remains strong. I think we've seen great examples of institutions wanting to share data, wanting to remove those barriers and culturally move us in that direction. It doesn't mean that there aren't still barriers that we need to overcome, not the least of which is still, despite its maturity, and I was really inspired by Atul's confidence in our interpretation of HIPAA, and the consent and the taco. That's my new favorite word, I think. But I think that many data donors and many data repository managers still struggle with understanding the nature of the interpretation of these regulations for consent as it relates to genomic information, even if it's somatic information. And these still continue to be a barrier to institutions being able to donate even more data for public use, even when it has all the HIPAA safe harbor rules in place. So some policy level clarifications. We've probably said this over and over again in this forum, with almost every session, continues to be a barrier that we would like to see overcome so that data donations can continue to move forward with less perception of risk. I think we saw some really great examples of where policy, regulations, and guidelines, the power of professional organizations to create data standards for documentation can really result in dissemination broadly of a minimum structured documentation that can be used downstream for practical purposes for evidence generation and integrated diagnostics. Where there seems to still be a pretty significant gap is in a common terminology for diagnostic procedures. If we are going to enable integrated diagnostics that can be applied beyond a single institution, we definitely need to be able to know that a breast screening mammogram is the same thing in one institution as it is in another, and not having a good terminology for all of our distributed diagnostics does make it more difficult for us to integrate that data downstream, be able to use wonderful applications like Care Everywhere to get that data from other systems to do the integrated diagnostic works that we all hope will be powerful in the future for this for the people in this room and beyond. So I think in conclusion, I would like to continue to engage our EMR vendors to advance and disseminate these use cases for integrated diagnostics workflow as well as their evaluation. I think we are in this forum have spent a lot of time bashing our EMR vendors, and I really want to thank them for their participation in this meeting this week. I feel like culturally we've come a really long way, and we've found some really great partners, and just want to thank you for your collaboration. We're just going to continue to come to you and ask for ongoing enhancements so that we can continue to move this field forward. Thank you.